Hello, my name is METİN. This is 173rd part of explanation of my theory. Wrong. Relativistic and classical accelerated electron velocity results and formulas are wrong. According to my theory and my formulas, 1. Besides the fact that they are wrong, while trying to compute the velocity of an electron, both relativistic and classical physics theories use wrong value of mass of an electron. In accepted physics, this wrong value is 9.11 10 to the minus 31 kilogram, I guess. Yes. In spite of, it is not necessary to use the mass of electron to find its velocity according to my theory and my formulas. I want to say in parenthesis, an electron motion form have two mass components and speed of light component. Point mass is, I have computed and I remember, 2.42 10 to the minus if I find 35 10 to the minus 35 kilogram, I guess, and linear velocity direction component mass for at rest electron motion form is 3.58 10 to the minus 36 kilogram, I guess, I remember. I have put forth, yes, I have computed according to my theory and my formulas. 2. Step 1. Step 1 for what? For finding an electron's velocity according to new theory, according to my theory and my formulas, except relativistic formula, except classical physics formula. Now imagine this is at rest free electron motion form. Now imagine this is 91.155 nanometer wavelength size kind free electron motion form that most common in our universes and atoms, and at rest 91.155 nanometer wavelength size free electron motion form goes on produce and propagate ring-shaped spherical waves as it is at rest, okay, through the eternity. On the contrary, the accepted physics theories, an electron can propagate light without accelerating. In these conditions, at rest position of free electron motion form, in these conditions, at each point, in all directions, okay, at each point of wave's surface point wavelength, at this point, at this point, at this point, at this point, at this point, okay, for each point we have point wavelength, we have point velocity, okay? But when a free electron motion form is at rest, in all directions and in all orientations and at each point, wavelength, this is my formula, wavelength, lambda alpha is equal to lambda normal. Lambda normal here what? Lambda normal here is equal to 91.155 nanometer, okay? At rest, because of there is no delta lambda and cosine no, okay? Only lambda here at rest position, lambda normal is equal to lambda alpha, okay? This is my formula when electron motion form is relocating. It starts. Then this is wave-point formula, the point wave velocity formula. At these conditions, in all direction, wave velocities are the same speed of light. But when the source, electron motion form, successive waves, light source, electron motion form, displacement in motion, everything starts to change. Okay. Now imagine this is 91.155 nanometer wavelength size kind free electron motion form that most common in our universes and atoms, and at rest 91.155 nanometer wavelength size free electron motion form goes on, produce and propagate ring-shaped spherical waves. In these conditions, at each point of wave surface, point wavelength is 91.155 nanometer, point wave velocity is speed of light, etc. Point energy, point masses, okay, etc. In all directions are the same. Yes. Lambda normal, 91, lambda normal here, don't forget, this is so important. Initial wavelength, at rest wavelength of a free electron motion form, 91.155 nanometer, okay? Initial wavelength. Here some of my formulas. I hope you see. Yes. Point wave velocity D, C minus V cosine alpha, V electron motion forms relocating velocity, okay? Alpha is its direction, motion direction and orientation, okay? Lambda alpha, okay, point wavelength, for each point lambda alpha, okay? Lambda more normal minus delta lambda cosine alpha, here, okay? My formulas. Yes. Some of my formulas are point wave velocity formula. D is equal to C minus electron motion form's velocity cosine alpha. Okay, if electron velocity is 0 at rest, D wave velocity for each point is c. Okay, and if it is at rest, electron motion form is at rest, lambda alpha is equal to lambda normal, say, at each point of its surface. Yes. Here we denotes electron motion form's velocity. Alpha, electron motion form's relocating velocity, direction and orientation. V is electron motion form's relocating velocity. Delta lambda, what is delta lambda? Is shortening. Here delta lambda, look at that. It is important. While at rest, no shortening. But in motion, this is direction, 0 degree direction. Okay. In the direction of 0 degree, in the direction of motion of electron motion form, its wavelength be shortened. Okay. Its wavelength shortens. Now, delta lambda is shortening amount of initial wavelength of an electron motion form in 0 degree direction at a certain velocity. Okay, here delta lambda. Shortening amount of initial wavelength of an electron motion form. This is normal, lambda normal, but when this wave, spherical wave shrinks, here delta lambda. Here lambda normal minus delta lambda. Okay, here between these two, shorten. Here delta lambda. Delta lambda plus lambda normal minus delta lambda is equal to lambda normal. Okay, you understand. Then, yes. 3. Step 2. When a free electron motion form gains velocity, when it is relocating, each point's wavelength, lambda alpha, is equal to lambda normal minus delta lambda cosine alpha, okay? And wave velocity, d is equal to c minus electron motion form's velocity multiplied by cosine alpha. In all directions and orientations change without cycling motion frequency changing. Depend on electron motion form's relocating velocity value and its motion direction and orientation. I advise you to read my writings about this subject under this video, okay? Again, when a free electron motion form gains velocity, when it is relocating, each point's wavelength and each point's wave velocity on its surface change without what? Without frequency changing. On the contrary, accepted physics theories, whether it is at rest or whether it is in motion, frequency is always constant for each cases. Don't forget. This is my formula, my relation between my formula and other formulas. This is my formula. Okay. Here, changed wave velocities, point waves, velocities point wavelengths, rate, but same frequency, okay? At rest, in motion. This is my another relationship formula about this subject. According to my theory and my formulas, this is important. Here is my constant frequency relation formula. Yes. Then, 4. Step 3. When a free electron motion form accelerated by applying voltage or by other reasons, its point wavelength shortens from initial wavelength, lambda n, to lambda minus delta lambda. Like this. Here, while it is at rest, when it is accelerated like this, here, between this lambda normal minus delta lambda in the 0 degree direction of electron motion forms motion velocity. Okay, this is between 2 points shortest wavelength is that lambda normal minus delta lambda. Okay, in the z direction, lambda normal minus delta lambda. This is so important here. Say, wait a moment. Here, lambda normal minus delta lambda in the z direction. Shortened wavelength. Okay. Here, my another formula. Shortened wavelength. Accelerated electron motion forms in the zero direction. Wavelength. Shortened wavelength. This is my other formula here. Yes, when a free electron motion form accelerated by applying voltage or by other reasons, its point wavelength shortens from initial wavelength from lambda normal to lambda normal minus delta lambda. Okay, and its point wave velocity, light velocity, decreases as much as what? C minus d from now on is equal to C minus electron motion form velocity. Okay, in the z direction. Because of alpha 0 degree, okay, in 0 degree direction, delta lambda cosine 0 degree is 1 because of this. You understand, I guess. Don't worry. Yes, you understood, I guess. And its point wave velocity, light velocity, decreases as much as c minus v. Its point wavelength shortens from initial wavelength to lambda minus delta lambda. Lambda alpha is equal to, okay, like this. In 0 degree direction, d will be equal to c minus electron motion form's velocity, and lambda alpha will equal to lambda n minus delta lambda. Because of 0 degree, cosine 0 degree equal to 1.